groupings are very similar to character classes, except that they don't just look for one of a class of characters, but rather it's a way of looking for one of several sequences of characters. The syntax is you begin with parentheses, and you obviously end with parentheses. Right after the open parentheses, you must type a question mark followed by a colon, and then each of your options are separated by the bracket. That'd be option 2, another bracket, and that'd be your option 3. So, for instance, this sequence here is looking for any word of any length, and that word can end in an A, or it can end in an O, or it could end in an AS, or it could end in an OS. So, for example, we must use the parentheses, and we must begin with the question mark and the colon, and then my choices are going to be separated via the bar. So I'm going to O, I want an A, I want an OS, or I want an AS. So all those words should end in one of those sequences right there. And they sure do. Now, imagine if I looked for one such word followed by another such word, I'm probably likely to get noun, adjective. Well, that's not giving us the right result. So what I could do is make sure that the words are at least fairly long. So let's say I want words one after another that have 5 or more letters. So this is going to give me a stem with at least 4 characters, followed by another stem with at least 4 characters, and then ending with one of those 4 endings. And let's see if that gives me a better result. Because right now, I'm getting definite articles there. Yeah, and that's a little bit better. Proceso interno. Dinero judiciario. Nosotros estamos doesn't match, but partido político. But once you clean up this data for your research, you should be able to have a better sample. Alguna manera as well. Estado Mexicano. But then again, we see hasta luego there. We probably could up the ante here and make that 6 and make that 4 and probably get nouns. Maybe the results aren't that much better, but this could be tweaked a little bit and optimized. How about if we look for the following? I want a direct object pronoun followed by what is probably a verb in the third person singular preterite. Because this is going to say I want any one of those 4 words there, followed by any word that ends in yo or o. Looks pretty good. I could change this around and get rid of that. And I could look for impersonal says and maybe not limit myself to the preterite, but I could search for say. Here's an error. The word say followed by any word that is most likely a verb in the preterite or the imperfect third person. So you can imagine the kind of research you could do on that. We could also stick in a le there. Or if we wanted to have it be lay or may, we could even increase our search results. We could just keep adding de. We could add in nos. We could add in os. And we could add in les there. Although really that's not very economical, because I could put an S here and then I could write a question mark, and that's going to look for le as one of the possibilities, followed by S, be it there or not. 0 more S's. And let's see what that gives us. Se le escapó. That's giving us a whole bunch more right there. Let's see about, how about let's do a little study on which prepositions are most common. I'm going to look for a or en or de or con or sin or por or para. And let's not forget about sobre and maybe hasta. And let's look to see. So this is going to look for any one of these words. See, I have my parentheses here and here. And then I have the question mark followed by the colon. And then each of the words is separated by the bar. And de seems to be the most common of all of these. So what's interesting is they don't tend to change position, except for por and para seem to be about equally as common. What's interesting is we see here, de is by far the most common preposition. Then we got those 5 tend to sort of group together, maybe. And then there's a drop off with the use of sobre, sin, and hasta. We also could maybe look to see what words tend to follow which prepositions. De la, en el, de los, en la, de las are very common combinations of preposition in the next word. We could even take it one step further and let's see 2 words out. Por ejemplo, we got a comma right there, which is considered a particular word. But for the most part here, we have prepositional phrases. So let's take a little more complicated sort of search, and let's look for using the verb hacer, whether the present indicative or the present subjunctive is more common. So we can write in all the forms of hacer. And we also can write in the subjunctive forms. No need to repeat aga again. And let's see what's more common. Aga is pretty common. Ase is the most common of them all. Looks like ase is almost always the most common one, and that makes sense because it's used for a lot of idiomatic purposes. But surprisingly, a word like aga in the subjunctive seems to be more common than its other indicative counterparts in the present. Now, talking about economies, here, what we can do is we can actually combine those two. We could get rid of this ase, and we can say, give me ase or ases, because that question mark there says one or more s's. And as I think about it, we could also get rid of this one here, because we could look for one or more n's. I'm sorry, 0 or more. That's what the question mark means. So that means it's going to be look for an s or not. And we actually could get rid of this, as I was saying, and write in an s or an n here, and give me 0 or more. Remember, that means 0 or 1. I'm mistaken. So either it's there or not. And same thing here with these guys. I could put a n or an s and a question mark there, whether those guys are going to be there or not. And that should give me the same type of results. Looking pretty similar. Ase is more common, and aga is kind of likes to jump up there, depending on your sample. One more search. We can use this configuration here to look for different word sequences as well, because a space is just a character. So let's say we're looking for the copula s followed by what is most likely to be a past participle, so a passive. And we want to look for either that, or we want to look for está plus the present participle. So we're going to look for those two combinations, or either of those combinations. Either what is most likely a S passive or an está progressive form. We're getting a lot of está progressive forms. There's a false one, but that one does meet the S plus past participle form. That isn't. So we could do a little bit more refining, or we just might have to clean up the data set. But we're getting pretty close to what we want.